Well, the first funeral services were held today. The suspect has been charged with 17 counts of premeditated murder. We should also point out, obviously, in situations like this, you continue to see the debates about gun control. I do want to point out today, and this just goes back to all levels of government failing in this case, because it was the FBI that, how do you come out and say that? How do you come out and say, whoops?
We didn't investigate.
Yeah.
We heard this in January, didn't move forward on that one.
Yeah.
All right, let's bring into the discussion right now to talk about this and all the other developments of the week. Republican Jeff Dove and Democrat Erica Thomas. Thank you guys so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So much has been made when we have these sort of situations. We have these shootings at schools, and we get into this gun control debate. Erica, let me start with you. You know, what's your takeaway from all of this?
You know, it's a sad day in America when we have any incidents like this, but it rises, and we need to know that it's time for gun control laws to be made. The majority of America wants it, and we need to give it to them.
Jeff, go for it.
So I'd say, first off, my condolences to all families in Parkland, Florida, and everyone that was affected by this. What I'll say is there was opportunities for people to come forward, and people actually did come forward. And it seems like you guys just reported on something where the FBI was contacted multiple times, and it seems like nothing was done. And I think that's a gap that needs to be addressed.
Erica, so what happens next here? I think a lot of times we have the discussions, we hear about people sending their thoughts and their prayers, but this conversation doesn't seem to go anywhere.
Well, we need to make sure that this time the conversation does go somewhere. We need to talk about mental illness, and we also need to talk about gun control. And another thing that no one is talking about is we need to talk about the system. This child with Nicholas Cruz was adopted. And did he have caseworkers? Did he have a system that failed him as well? All of these things in one are things that we need to be talking about.
Erica, when you say, let me interrupt you for a quick second, because I just want to be clear on something. When you say gun control, what do you qualify as gun control? Because it's a broad term. I'm curious what you would qualify as gun control in this case that would be amenable, you think, to all sides.
Well, when I say gun control, one of the things I mean is we have too many semi-automatic weapons on the streets today. And we need to see how we can control that. In addition to these more mental health checks for people that are buying these guns. The FBI knew about this boy and knew that he was on the FBI list. Why was he able to obtain a semi-automatic gun with endless amount of bullets?
You want to jump in there, Jeff?
So one thing I'll say is when it comes to someone like this, there's a lot of issues in this country with regards to mental health. If you notice, the majority of firearm deaths are related to suicide, and that's directly tied to mental health issues. I think we need to address these issues as a country. I don't think we do it enough. We don't focus on the people that actually have problems. I can tell you, when I came back from fighting in war, that was something that we actually got from the military. We were able to get treatment for these issues as soon as I came out.
So
yes.
Jeff, and as we look at that, you mentioned the mental health angle, because we've heard that, I think, after Las Vegas, that was a big, and you know, that is a major issue in this country. The question is, are we putting the resources into mental health as well? Because I think that's the one thing that came out. I keep going back to Newtown. That haunts me, and I think about Adam Lanza, the gunman in that case, and they said, yeah, he had all these problems out there. But are we devoting enough resources as a country into mental health, separate from gun control itself?
I don't think so at all. We're not addressing these red flags that constantly come up with these people in all these situations. I mean, look at the shooting in Sutherland, Texas. The guy basically was, dishonorably discharged, and there was a gap between the communications between the military branch that he served in and the federal government with regards to firearms database. So that's another area where we need to, sew up the loopholes, in a sense.
Hey, Erica, let me ask you, we heard calls for Christopher Wray, the head of the FBI, to resign because the FBI dropped the ball here in this case. That said, do you think that is the right move?
Well, I think that's one of the moves that we need to make. You know, the FBI is put in place to make sure that things like this don't happen. And if someone comes to you and says, look, there is a guy here, you need to vet him, you need to make sure that he's not doing these things, we know that this is a potential threat, then they need to do their job, because our money, our taxes are going towards the government, and we need to make sure that the government is doing their job. And they did drop the ball on this. So yes, I think that's one thing, but we also have to talk about mental illness and gun control.
Well,
235 mass killings, of which most of them were carried out by firearms. So yes, it is about mental illness, it is about the FBI, but it is also about gun control.
Oh, Jeff Dove, good to see you again. Erica Thomas, thank you for joining us tonight.
Thanks again for having
we'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.